Hey, thanks for watching and welcome to NFTV. I am here right now with Ryan Kuo, a digital artist and a participant in Pieces of Me, Transfer's current online exhibition exploring the dynamics of the shifting NFT marketplaces. Ryan's work File is an interactive and downloadable piece that has been online actually for a number of years. And I'm really excited to be here with him today as he takes us through the work and shows us a little bit more about what File is all about. Thanks for being here, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Wade.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit more about the work and maybe give us a little bit of a reading or tour through File and what its functions are.
Yeah, sounds good. So you can see my browser, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Right. So this work has been online at Left Gallery since 2016, and it's a bit complex in the way that it's set up in relation to the blockchain, and that's because it kind of began as a kind of circling argument I was having with myself back then about this idea of creating artificial scarcity around files, which are something that I've never thought of in my practice as a kind of like physical output. They've always been a stepping stone to something else, and so part of a process. But let me try to convey like basically what this work is. So if you go to Left Gallery, you can buy an edition of this work. It's an edition of 100, and basically the way it's presented is that it's an ongoing process work. It's rooted in, but it's not limited to hypertext. And so basically the conceit is that when you purchase File, you're also buying access to my file. What you literally get when you buy File is actually not the hypertext, the main hypertext work, which I'm gonna kind of quickly demo in a bit, but you get this, which is an exclusive file action, which is basically a page that lets you unbox the file. And so, file being a noun and a verb, you basically, this is the work is kind of like about File as a kind of moving contingency. It's not just like a fixed object that you kind of just possess. It's something that you partake in. So, I can sort of preview what this unboxing process is like. And I wrote this like a long ass time ago, but let's see. So when you open the file, you have a box because the file has to come in a box, and so you're basically onboarding by checking out this box. Maybe kind of just looking at it. All angles. It's got all 4. How many corners does the box have? 4? Wait, 6? 1, 2, 3. No, there's 6 corners of a box, there's just a sticker on the box that notes that you activate the box for your lifetime, but you do need an internet connection. So what's that really about? And so let's look at some of the details around this. You need an internet connection because actually most of the file is online, and so that's how you sync to the updates that I'm making in potentially real time, and that's just part of the material nature of what this work is. But there's no tracking or anything. It's basically, I can show you what that is, but it's a one-way connection, and here are some of the parameters. So I update the file in perpetuity, in theory. You don't see me. You can open the file if you'd like. I don't see you. And you can review the file updates at leisure. And basically, at this point in writing, I think I kind of realized I don't know if that's interesting to people, but that is the way this works. So you can open this box, and maybe you get excited because I do when I used to open these kinds of boxes. And so basically, what this work promises is that you'll perform file actions, you'll navigate the file structure, and you'll complete tasks in doing so. Much like this rendering of the box, the file's conceptual outline may or may not line up with its contents, but it has made a promise by now. So, so we're about to open the file. Work is open, the work is working, and the work is waiting in those depths. So you can open the file. Oh, there's just a piece of paper inside this box because, we don't need that much these days. And so this is a README, and this is more of like a traditional technical README, but just kind of explaining, what the file basically is, what you need, And you can license the file if you'd like. And you can also contact me here. I'm the file maintainer. And you can open this link to access the file. And when you do that, you're opening a file. The file is online, so you can also just go there. But this is the file, and the way the file is set up is that each of these branches is a file action, and when you click on one of these branches, like copy the file, you're basically you're kind of attempting to reproduce the file, and that's sort of inserting you into this question about which is still a question that's a little bit technically unclear to me, which is, what does it mean to copy a file that's tokenized? I mean, if a file has no actual bearing on the token and vice versa, then actually you totally can copy the file, you just can't copy the token. But then it's like, you don't really own the file, you just own the token. Anyway, we've been through this. So let's say you can't copy the file because it's unique, or because of market necessity. And this is what has brought all of us here in this day and age to this conversation. And so, basically we branch from there, and basically this is a conversation that I'm having with you, but it's also a conversation I'm having with myself, and a conversation I'm having with my file team, which is basically all of my split personalities around like how I feel about this kind of this issue. It's actually difficult to locate a position, and I think that is kind of like the tactic, which is to kind of keep dodging certain fixed positions, and that's also stating something about how I feel about files in general. I recently wrote this demo to kind of take people through, and so this is the most recent branch, actually, even though it's branch 0, but this was written in the past month, to kind of walk through some of the most recent concerns that I've had about the file and about the NFT, which wasn't called that back then. But basically, we can see that the file is working because we are reading it. And there's a question of how the user has agency and who has control, and so on. And we've said all of this before in past file branches. But basically, we have this conceit that the file is ongoing and that it ends when I'm dead because it's tied to my body. And really, it's about kind of a kind of agnosticism about the file's nature. And so I'll just read this passage. But the file remains agnostic that it is a thing. The file could be many things and could equally be nothing. This is not a metaphysical statement. The file has a tenuous relation to its physicality, which it grudgingly projects in the presence of opportunity. But the file is designed to generate its own opportunity. It is autonomous, gaining density and nuance from a logic that operates on an entirely different register from those forces that wish to make the file a thing. If the file were not agnostic, it would be a certain thing, but the file is also nothing if not agnostic. So I think I can probably pause there. I realized I went on for a little bit.
No, it's really fascinating, and it's great to get a demo, of file, and learn about your practice of filing. This piece is tied to collection and ownership, but also obviously process. And I'm wondering, what is the ideal place that you want this work to live in, and how do you want the audience or the collector to have a relationship with it?
I actually, so the impetus for this work was that I was actually, this work was commissioned by Nora Khan for Left Gallery back then, I should have mentioned. And so this work came directly out of my conversations with her while I was on residency, and I was also working remotely as a technical writer for Samsung. And I think that I just had so little space in my head that I thought that I should just collapse all of those concerns and my work concerns and my studio concerns into this work. And so I just started writing from page 1, and it branched out from there. So it's directly modeled after technical engineering wikis and developer documentation sites, which are, I think, quite an alien kind of presence, and they adopt a quite alien voice because they're sort of willfully objectifying And I think that the way that those sites are used is interesting because like you might have a wiki and everyone kind of like everyone who's working on something on a product, for example, like has access to this wiki, and there's a consciousness about everyone kind of being able to update the wiki, and you can kind of create a page that becomes a stand-in for like a feature that's developed later, and when the feature drops, the page remains as a kind of vestige of that of your thinking around that. And so there's a kind of like a kind of like a kind of staggered kind of sense that you know, reality is and physical reality precedes, but and this document of that is always kind of like falling a little bit behind, but also kind of like being updated in this kind of haphazard manner. And I think that kind of ambient presence of kind of like just working towards something, like kind of building this thing piece by piece. That's the kind of relation that I want. You know, that's the kind of interest in calling the file a platform, because it's not just kind of a use of this terminology, but it's like a thing that we're all standing on in this moment, and maybe we can all just get off at some time. But while we're standing on it, you know, we're kind of like, we're aware of all of the factors and the thoughts and interests and conflicting thoughts and interests that are kind of orbiting around this. And so I don't know what it is, but it's important to me that you know, people follow like where I'm going with this. It doesn't have to be in real time. It doesn't have to be, you know, in the sort of like in the sort of compressed temporality of like a social media feed. It can just be like, you know, you can check in and see if anything has happened. Nothing may have happened in the past like 5 years, which is what most of the existing file owners have probably experienced. But, you know, it's like, I will update this, and it is ongoing. And so knowing that it's there, and, you know, until recently, this was more or less a kind of like a private link that was only known to people that bought the file on Left Gallery. It isn't any longer, but for that time, it was a kind of like a shared knowledge. There was nothing like technically, you know, reinforcing that. It was just like I told you where to find it, and you could if you wanted to. And, you know, that's a kind of like an interpersonal relation that I think is important to me and maybe to this work.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I mean, if anybody wants to go and collect this work, it's available on Left Gallery right now. You can have a copy of file for yourself, and you can do some filing and see kind of how this work develops and changes and grows, especially as, you know, the technological landscape changes and the art market changes as well. Ryan, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for this awesome tour through file. It was really enlightening, and, you know, I can't wait to see kind of how it continues to branch and mutate as time goes on.
Thanks. And I just want to show you one last thing. I
Oh yeah,
realized
please.
you can drop the file within the file. And this is something that I wrote a long time ago, but you can drop the file. And when you drop the file, it's usually disappointing. So that's it. Thanks,
Oh no, well, hopefully, you know, hopefully there won't be too much file dropping, you know, as we go on. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And you know, everybody go out and collect your own file. Till next time.